Okay, so as you will see, special arrangements today, like was already yesterday, excuse me, not yesterday, but the last Monday. I just posted an announcement to Core's Moodle site that Lexa will be coming out from using our conventional YouTube channel. Now the problem is that Moodle is a little bit slow, and it takes 15 minutes, or it puts a message to hold on 15 minutes, and then after 15 minutes it will be released to all of you. So it's possible that once we're getting started today, there's only not that many participants, but we'll see. I'm getting started slowly because once we reach the in-class quizzes, it will be a little bit inconvenient to answer those in-class quizzes without knowing the subject matter, what we've been discussing so far. So that's why I'm slowly warming up. And also while I'm warming up, I need to take a look how many online participants I have, if any. So let me log into my YouTube channel and see how it look. Okay, so this is my channel, and I don't see my streaming. I don't see my live now. Yeah, I'm live. I don't see my streaming. I don't see my live. Excuse me, sorry about that. That I'm sure produces quite a bit of echo. And now let me see how many. Oh yeah, so I have 5 people following this, so it's good. It's good. Okay, so 5 people are following, except one of these 5 people is myself. But anyways, at least there will be a recording that later you guys are able to follow. So I hope that you're all doing fine. I mean that hopefully everything works out fine, and I hope that international students are able to travel safely back home, and hopefully things works out. Now, this YouTube is a problematic in a sense, or at least it's different than other tools used in online streaming. Is that communication from your end to my side is a little difficult. And but I'm following my YouTube channel, so if you want to post a comment or you want to share something with me, you can do that via YouTube channel, or alternatively you can just send me an email. Anyway, so what I'm planning to do today is actually 2 technical matters, and this is a technical lecture, so we are not speaking about the career counseling today, but instead we're going to look at a little bit about subject matters that are important in terms of modeling. And I would like to discuss a little bit about the contact modeling first, and then shortly about the stress evaluation and how stress evaluation can be used as a part of the fatigue life prediction. So 2 areas that I would like to be active today: contact modeling and stress evaluation. But prior to that, some practical matters to discuss. Not really much, but a little bit something that is good you to know. And then maybe next week there is a bit more practical matters to discuss. But anyway, so let's get started. So here's something that is good you to know. Now, as you know, we're experiencing very special situation in terms of teaching, and there's no face-to-face guided tutorials anymore. It's my understanding that Perttu is doing his best effort to teach you via Teams, and I know that some of you may have a little bit of difficulties to participate those team meetings, but if the time-wise this is not convenient to you, or there's another restrictions, we are very flexible this year, and we understand that each of us have experienced some difficulties. So if your model is not running properly, please take a contact directly to Perttu. And the Perttu's email is perttu.juvonen@lud.fi. So he's able to give you individual hands-on help. So then, before looking at the stress evaluation and the contact modeling, I would like to put these visiting lectures we've been carried out last 3 weeks. I would like to put them in a perspective, and I thought that maybe this is the best way to put these visiting lectures in a perspective. So here I have a graph where x-axis is a level of expertise. I mean that what kind of how much you have to be deep in a subject matter to understand that. And then the y-axis is how well one subject matter can be applied to a wide variety of applications. And the first visiting lecture was about the bicycle dynamics, and that was delivered by Professor Arjen Schwab. Of course, bicycle dynamics is mainly limited to bicycles and two-wheel vehicles, but of course some of the ideas, some of the concepts introduced in that lecture can be used in other applications too. But that's clearly something that is level of expertise needed is very high, and it is not that well applicable. It can be that easily applied to other subject matters than the bicycle dynamics. Biomechanics is a little bit the same thing. Of course, the biomechanics, there is many concepts or sub-concepts within the biomechanics that one can use. So it's a bit higher in the y-axis than the bicycle dynamics, also slightly left from the bicycle dynamics in terms of level of expertise needed. Then finite element modeling, that's of course can be applied to very wide variety of different applications, and that's why it is placed to this particular location. Level of expertise really varies, because there are specialists that are heavily involved to finite element theory, and those people, the level of expertise is exceptionally high, and it actually requires at least the same level of knowledge and expertise in multi-body dynamics, maybe even more than that. And then the final thing, that was the last week, that was this product life cycle management. That's more like business perspective, and I hope that it was able to give you a little bit of an idea what are the other digital tools that the companies are using. The level of expertise is not necessarily that high than other subject matters, but it really can be applied to a wide variety of different applications. And now, what we're going to do today is going to be first contact modeling. The contact modeling, depending how you're going to carry out the contact modeling, can be very challenging in terms of theory. We are not going to step that deep in the theory today, but we're going to look up more about how is a big picture, and then also we're going to discuss a little bit about the stress evaluation, how that can be carried out, and what are the ways one can get the information about stresses applying in a structure using multi-body system dynamics. So they are comparing these visiting lectures. These are more or less halfway. It requires a little bit of expertise, but can be applied to a wide variety of different applications. This is one way to put it out. Okay, so let me take that off. Okay, so like that. Alright, so let's move on to contact modeling. So, contact modeling, I always want to get started from the game technology, because in game technology the contact of course are very important. And here are just a few examples how the contact takes place in the games. This is, by the way, this is very old games. You see, I don't even remember how old it is, but this is a game called Flat Out, and flat out think this is way more than a 10 years old game. And already that time there was something that looks quite realistic in terms of content description when you drop the television screen, or I think this is old-fashioned monitor top of the car. Even the car is actually going down a bit. Even the dent appears the roof of the car. So it looks quite realistic. Of course, if it is really the case, what happens in the reality? Probably not, but many things related to content modeling are very heavily used in game technology and game engineering. So these are just the two examples from one game, which is not very recent game. Now, what comes to the content modeling itself, the content modeling can be categorized to two different areas, and both are very important. Both can be very CPU consuming. The first thing to do is that we have to have an algorithm, some kind, to detect whether or not the contact takes place. There are very well-established technologies to do that. But this is roughly to look if there's a possibility of two objects to collide. That's what it is essentially. Now, this sounds very simple, and it is very simple if we're speaking about low number of possible contacts. So let's say that we have here a phone and a case, and we'll look if it's possible that this phone and the case will touch each other. That's what the contact detection is about. Now, things becoming very difficult if there is a high number of possible contacts. An example about high number of possible contacts could be that there is a lot of particles that each one of them can contact each other. So there's a lot of computing to look how possible contact will take place. Or maybe an easier example could be coming from the game technology. If saying that there is a rally game and a rally car can attach to a number of objects close the road. Let's say that there are number of trees that each one of them can be a possible contact. Now, if you look, if the front fender it is contacting to one or two trees, that's going to be fine to predict that. But if there is going to be say thousands of trees, soon it's become very, very complicated to look if the contact takes place to each one of these trees. And that's why there have to be a systematic way to ignore some of the possible contacts, and that's what the contact detection is about. Now, once contact takes place, then is another task to do, and another task to do is actual contact event modeling. How is it these two objects can be separated from each other? Let's say again I have a case and a phone, so they will contact. They obviously cannot really penetrate, but what are the ways to push them separately? So if they are touching like this, what are the ways to put them separately? And this is contact event modeling. And now how to carry out that, I will introduce two different ways to make that happen. But prior to that, let's take a look at the contact event modeling detection. And the contact detection, I mentioned that there is a well-established approaches to make that happen, and the one of the methods that is very often used in a game technology, also in a multi-body system dynamics, is a method called bounding boxes, the bounding box method. There are